Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so you call the meeting to order and I'll call the roll.
All right, meeting called to order. Today is what's that? I'm sorry. Somebody have something?
No.
You're all set, Council President. You're all set.
Okay. Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, April 28th. It is now 8:07 p.m. Town Council to discuss Civic Center and ice rink workshop, budget workshop. I'm sorry.
Councilman Lattardi? Councilman Lattardi? Councilman Messier?
Here. Here.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
There is a quorum. Public hearing on the proposed FY21 July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 West Warwick Civic Center.
All right, Ernie and Lori, you two are on deck. You're on mute, Ernie. I'll unmute you, Ernie. You have to unmute yourself, Ernie, because it won't let me unmute you.
All right, thank you. One of the changes as a result of the recently approved contract with Council 94 Municipal Union is that we have the Civic Center, which is the ice arena, and then the traditional gym area, that it had been a facility that had union employees. A union supervisor, a union maintenance worker, actually two maintenance workers, and part-time union employee, and then some part-time individuals to fill in, you know, at different hours. And, you know, in general, facilities like these generally lose money. They are more for the community benefit, betterment, enjoyment of the community. So, you know, so when you look at generally they lose money. In ours, you know, and this is a situation where it's been created as an enterprise fund when the town took the facility back to manage and operate. So as an enterprise fund, it's the closest thing to running a business, just like the sewer department. They have user fees, they run like a business, customers. So this is a closest thing that we would have to operating as a private business. And as a private business, you have to operate in certain ways so that you either make money or not lose a lot of money. You know, here our goal is, I mean, if we can make some money, great, but we don't want to lose any money. And this is very important because a good chunk of this budget is for utility costs, electricity, which that amount, the amount of money that comes in to pay that bill goes to pay debt service for our wind turbines. So it's a very important structure and department to run well and or as best as it can be. So we found that it, you know, the structure we had might not have been, wasn't conducive to running it as a business would be, such as, I mean, if you had a second shift employee and nothing was happening the second shift, no one was there, you know, then, employee still was there. If it's a non-union facility, you can look through scheduling and schedule really what you need. So we looked at other models in the state, and, you know, some are, you know, hybrid, you know, union, non-union. There are some that are just completely non-union. So based upon, the experience here, at least my experience the last few years, and in the history, it seemed like the best chance for the facility to operate at its peak level would be a non-union facility that would provide the utmost flexibility in operations. So when you look at that and the structure we had, the thought was that a full-time manager that would be there and a hands-on manager, not, a desk person, but somebody would have to have the ability to do administrative work, but it's a hands-on manager to oversee the functions of that entity, and also have a hands-on maintenance supervisor that would, sort of be a jack of all trades, know, the electricity, the functions of a facility, electricity, plumbing, all those things, as well as the operations specific to the ICER in general. So the thought was 2 full-time people could fill that niche as far as the basic structure, and then you fill in the basic structure around them. A part-time secretary was determined to be, adequate for that function, and then a whole host of part-time individuals that would be able to fill in to spots, that need to be in, whether they be on weekends, whether they be maybe in the mornings, flexibility. Because one of the things we saw is that, sometimes during the most busiest times, we didn't have the most experienced people. So again, what we're looking forward to now is a lot of flexibility that we can structure the organization and the entity to function as well as it can. Now, this budget can be, through the process, be reviewed, discussed, and approved quicker than the other general fund budget, because there is no requirement for a financial town meeting or no requirement for a voter referendum. So, a special emphasis can be placed here to review, approve, modify, however the decision is, and adopt, so that we can begin, the implementation phase. Because with this budget, July 1st is like ground zero, where we need to be operating, so everything has to be ready to go in place. Now, again, right now, the current facility is closed because, of the various executive orders based upon, stopping the mitigation, the increase of the coronavirus. But as the measures come into place to restore the economy, restore recreation, and restore the amount of people that can gather, by the time it's ready to go back to more of a standard entity, it would be in the summer months, July and August. And then, maybe there was a program for hockey, summer program, maybe that can come back. Because we were doing fairly well with revenues, and then all of a sudden, they stopped. So we can also, be less revenues in the summer, but, that's not really a peak time for the Civic Center. Although, there is a lot of interest in the recreation program, so we may want to move forward in seeing interest and with that program, with the intent of maybe starting that. But again, that's going to be based upon the relaxation of the gathering requirements. So with that, I mean, it's the regular budget is pretty much as it is, and the difference is the staffing model. So with that, we'd be pleased to answer what questions that you may have. Lori, I don't know if you would like to add anything to it.
No, I think you covered it all. I mean, I do have a lot of notes that I did take just because I was really nervous. I didn't know how this was actually going to go tonight. I did get really thorough into each lined item because I know there was a lot of questions. So if there is any questions, I can answer those very thoroughly of like what each budget line is for and what the money is spent for and whatnot. For those of you that do know me, you know that I'm not a person that comes in and punches a card. Like, my goal here is to make this facility the best that it possibly can be for the community. I do wear a lot of hats here, and that might just be my personality of just making sure that everybody's happy. And since I started here, my goal was to make sure that these buildings had life in them and they were able to be used for the community and as well as bringing in revenue. I mean, I'm very, very sad because when I did do my very detailed, thorough investigation of where we would be, is that I know that we would have been in the black this year. But, obviously it's beyond all of our control at this point of where we are. But even with everything being said, Kristen and I had gone over some numbers and we will be very, very close, if not break even, very close to it this year with everything that's happened. And there's a lot of new programs that I've brought in. The hockey rink is thriving in the summer. I mean, even the little stick and puck and the public ice skating, I mean, that they've brought in a lot of money for us. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. I do believe that we do have a plan in place now that, we will be able to make money here and we'll actually be able to make some renovations that, definitely need to be done because some things I think are older than me here.
Oh, stop that. Any questions for Lori?
I guess just a couple of comments. One question in particular. So are we in a position where we have to refund fees that have already been paid in advance?
No, we're not in any position of that. So, which is a very good thing. How the billing is done is that most of these are continuous renters that are here on a weekly, daily basis. So they're billed out every month. So those are fine. And for the bigger events, usually they pay within 7 to 14 days before their event in full. So we didn't run into any of those problems. So at this point, we're good at that. I mean, I am trying the best that I possibly can to hold on to all the bigger events. I mean, the circus, they're not planning anything till next year at this point. I'm really sad that we did lose the Jurassic event. That was going to be a really, really cool event. That was where the dinosaurs come. They are like real size. They were going to use both buildings. I'm really sad about that one. We've lost a lot of craft shows, but I mean, I'll be honest with you, all the crafters are trying to book, September, October, November, as much as they can. Some of the hockey leagues didn't even get a chance to finish out their season. I do get a lot of emails and phone calls. I don't know if they think I'm in like the secret alliance of recreation that I'm going to know when everything's going to be able to open. Some of the hockey people have been mad at me that, I haven't, and I'm not able to open up the ice rink for them, but I mean, it is what it is.
That's a shame about the circus. I'm really disappointed in that.
I figured you would be.
So you said they billed monthly, but if we've been closed for a month, why would we expect them to pay? What am I missing there?
So they rent and then they're billed after they rent. So if they're a contractual renter, so say you had a hockey team and you came every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 6 to 8. At the end of the month, you get one bill of that entire.
Okay.
So when you're an event, you pay upfront, but when you're at the leagues, they just pay monthly.
And maybe this is a question for Ernie too. I mean, we've now achieved, or as of July 1, this will be a non-union shop. But I assume that we're going to take a look at what our business model is and how we actually, what we draw and how we draw. I think it's clearly being non-union helps, but that's not the end all and be all. And I'm also wondering about going forward, having an idea as to how these events do. So if the circus, sorry, Jay, were to be there, how much revenue we got to have a mini income statement for each event, so we know what makes money, and maybe just having a better idea of what this entity is going to look like going forward. Because I assume just moving personnel around, we should probably be looking to do more than that.
I actually do have from the events, the boxing and the circus, exactly what the cost was, like a breakdown from what they paid for the venue, what was paid out to the fire department, what was paid out to the police department. just overall. So if that's something that you would like to see, I can definitely put those together and just send them over to you, just so that you can just have, just for past years of, you know, how events actually worked out.
I think that's a good idea. I don't know if other members of the council would
I'll
be
send it to
interested,
all of you.
clearly.
So I'll just send you just a quick email with them in there. I mean, they're nothing like extravagant or anything like that. It's just, it was just more or less for my own well-being of, like, you know, versus overtime versus part-timers, that kind of
Nope.
thing there. So just to see.
I hear what you're saying, but there should be some, as I said, some sort of mini income statement that then you can tie back to what we look at on a monthly basis.
I can get that over to you.
And Ernie, I assume that you have some ideas as to change what's happening up there. Again, having it be non-union was important, I believe, but I think there are probably other changes that should be made.
Again, I think this gives us an opportunity to reflect what's happening, what's happened, and what issues that are out there that, you know, need to be reviewed, addressed, because this is you know, this has to be successful. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be successful. So it's incumbent upon the administration to structure it the best way we can, so that this entity is what we all want it to be, a facility that our residents can use for enjoyment. I mean, the school utilizes it a lot, and it's a great because there's a close proximity relationship. So really a community asset. We need to ensure that it always remains that way. And, you know, if there are barriers to that, just try to remove them. And again, and now the pressure's on. I mean, if it fails, it fails because we didn't either plan properly or do something properly. Now, again, this situation is a little bit off kilter with the coronavirus and how it affects things. And depending on how long it goes, hopefully it won't affect the operations significantly in the fall, but we don't know. We don't know what the gathering requirements will be. We don't know how, there has to be regulations about how teams can compete. Or maybe they won't, you know, so there are still things that are going to be coming up that, you know, may affect, you know, our ability to rent space or have it utilized. But, you know, that will be, but we have the obligation, and, you know, and if it doesn't work the way we anticipate, then just blame ourselves or blame the administration, blame myself, because there should be no hindrances.
Can I
Thank you.
make a point?
John?
And I make this point every budget season when it comes to the Civic Center. Again, as part of the operational cost, there is the wind turbine debt service of $170,000. So if that were out of the picture, which I understand it can't, but if that were out of the picture, that'd actually be a profit. So I like to point that out because that is a large chunk of.
Well, you're absolutely correct, because one of the things that the town did that was very good was when the state started to change their budget reporting format, they wanted departments to contain all the expenses that were attributable to running that department. So if you had healthcare, pension, you know, Social Security, FICA, workers' comp, anything, they wanted it in the department so you could actually see how much it costs the community to run a program, a department, a service. Ultimately, you know, they would want to see that data for consolidation purposes, but you know, it's going to be a long time from now. Now, West Warwick was a part of volunteered to be a pilot program. So our budgets reflect the way the state likes it. Many communities still don't do that. You know, my prior community, Warwick, doesn't do it that way, didn't do it that way. So when you look, they have ice arenas, swimming pools. And if you look on their budgets, they make money, but they don't include like healthcare, pension costs, all the things we do. If it did, it wouldn't make money, it would lose money. So that's why I say these are hard. Now, if we can come close or make money or not lose money when we have this big utility bill to pay, I mean, that would be really a very remarkable thing. And it would be a testament to how it's run and operated. So yeah, I agree. That is a big number that has to be, it's the first thing that has to be paid. It always will be.
Okay, any questions for Lori or Ernie? Jay, you have any questions? You're not on, you're still on.
Oh, me or Jay or Charlie?
Hold on, I'm unmuting him now.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a few on this. I just expected a little bit different. I know this is the type of budget we've gotten every year, but I was looking for a lot more detail with this, since this is like, we put a lot.
I think he froze.
Yeah, your audio.
It's not right, but making this and what's that?
You
Your
froze.
audio
We're
keeps-
only hearing like every third word of you.
All right. I hope they're the good words. I know, like Mary Beth had said, if we can have a breakdown, like when you revenue, ice rink, 455,000, like when, I'm just going to use examples here. Building repairs and upgrades. I know.
I wish I could hear him because I'm pretty sure I have all the answers.
So
for
I
everything
just
he's
think
asking.
I'd like to see a lot more detail. Right, but I think it'd be good for the council to have, and so we can have a breakdown of
I believe
the summer program. It could be any, you could take any line. I started to write the questions down, but I just
Jay, we lost you totally. Even your video went down.
I'm just gonna explain what I did put together just because I knew that people were looking for a little bit more details. And what I did was I broke down every single line and I compared it to what it was this year. And I gave a detailed explanation of everything it was. So I'll just take just the regular supplies and expenses. The FY20 budgeted for $25,000. A detailed explanation of that is we spent $395 on first aid supplies. Postage was $34. Zamboni blade sharpening was $676. Cleaning supplies, and the vendors were WB Mason, Dollar Tree, Staples. That was $1,989. Office supplies came from WB Mason, Staples, Wells Fargo, which obviously it's just regular office supplies and nothing extravagant like pens, papers, our printer, whatnot. That was $2,720. Maintenance and repair for the building, items such as paint, duct tape, parts for the floor washer, air purifier filters, soap dispensers, fuel, basketball hoop motors, paper towel holders, all that kind of stuff. They came from Home Depot, Airgas, Granger. That was $3,827. The high school hockey games, we paid for the ticket collectors, the scorekeepers, and the police details. That was $1,400. Memberships and testing fees from BJ's and EJ Prescott for the backflow for the water meters came out to be $443. Yearly maintenance for the fire extinguishers is $90 each year. There was clothing allowance that was contractual. That was $950. Approximately we've spent $12,524 of the FY20 budget. We have a remaining of $12,476. I don't really foresee much more spending to take place with everything that's going on, unfortunately, right now. The amount that I'm requesting for the FY21 budget is $20,000. I literally took every single line like that and I broke it down so that, you know, if anyone had any questions, I could tell you exactly where the money was being spent and exactly what it was being spent on and who was actually getting the money. I did the same thing for our revenues. You know, I mean, just for example, I'll just take the ice rink. The budget was $454,980 for the ice rink. As of, obviously we all know that the ice rink closed on March 12th. So as of that date, we had revenue of $434,099.99. So remaining for that budget is $20,880.01. Cancellations as of April 30th for the ice rink alone are $36,400. I looked back for the stick and puck in the public ice skating. That was $1,424 from last March and April. You know, if we're unable to open in May, we're going to lose another $22,080. This is stuff that people, you know, all these leagues planned on coming in at. You know, stick and puck from May last year was $1,277. June, if we're not able to open, it's $25,680 that we're going to lose. You know, overall in the ice rink that we're going to lose from March to June is $84,160. Stick and puck, if we kept on the same numbers, is $5,128. I mean, overall, our ice rink should be at $523,000, but again, this is out of our control and this is something that we can't do. Like, we were on track to be doing really well this year, but.
So going forward, can you give us those actions going forward, that breakdown?
Yeah, I can send you my notes if you all would like to read them. It's literally a breakdown of every single line so that you can just look at them and see where we are and, you know, whatnot. I mean, a lot obviously depends on how the restrictions are lifted moving forward. But I mean, I have 17 pages of notes just so that if anyone had any questions, I could thoroughly explain them. I mean, this is something that I really want the community to be able to enjoy. It's sad with no noise in here, because that was my goal when I started here, was to make noise in here and give these buildings life. And then, you know, I can't wait for the kids to come back in here.
Thank you for going through and making those notes, Lori. Obviously you spent a lot of time looking at it. I think what I'm looking for on a going forward basis is a more formal, instead of your notes, a more formal accounting of, if you will, that we can very easily say, so this is where you spent this money, and Kristen, I assume you have that type of reporting available for the Civic Center? Oh, you're on mute.
On mute.
Dave,
Okay.
thank you.
I have all the so the categories are what is in the budget. Inside those line items is the detail. We would have to manually pull it together if you want it more granular than what you're seeing here for supplies and expenses. If you want that broken down into what exactly supplies and expenses they're spending, then we would have to do that manually, which is fine if that's what you want.
Wouldn't your ledger actually have something that says you paid Staples or WB Mason or?
Right, it's by
again,
it's by vendor.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
In the line, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think looking at just so we can year to year decide if we're going to have the same types of events, just so we know what's profitable or not profitable. And I think that's something that a lot of people have asked about. And again, Ernie, on an overall basis, yeah, examining what kinds of places or what kinds of events we want to have in the field house in particular. The hockey rink, it's always going to be a demand for the hockey rink as long as we can ever get back to playing sports like that.
All right, with that being said, any other questions for Lori or Ernie?
I have a comment, and it's related to being an enterprise fund. which is always compared that the sewer department is enterprise fund, the ice rink, the civic center is an enterprise fund. And what's been brought up at the sewer subcommittee for, I don't know, probably 3 years now. I know Mary Beth and Ernie will know what I'm talking about. There's there's paperwork that
He cut out again.
and basically what that is a list that are in other departments that have like a 5% equivalent, 10% equivalent of the time they spent doing any work for the sewer department. So what's always come up is how come the Civic Center isn't doing the same thing? So I know, Kristen, you're I mean, you know what I'm talking about. You developed the form. So, I mean, I don't know why we don't have that same thing with the Civic Center.
So the manpower that goes into running the sewer is a lot more than what goes into running the Civic Center as far as what Town Hall is doing for the Civic Center. But we are collecting sewer bills. We are manning phone calls. We're putting time. So it's two vastly different operations, and the sewer department is a huge operation. It's a regional operation. So, and I'm not sure that the Civic Center would stand any more expenses. And I don't know if it would be beneficial to the Civic Center to, or I don't think it would help the town any to, a small portion of my salary or Ernie's salary to the Civic Center.
I can tell you, I think
the sewer is ordinance based. The fees are utilities that are based on our ordinances, whereas the Civic Center is a recreation facility. There's no ordinances that says we have to charge the fees that we're charging for that. I mean, it almost could be a special revenue fund. It is self-sustaining, but it's a little borderline there. With the Civic Center is just a completely different operation than the sewer.
I realize that, but they're both enterprise funds, and I can tell you, I mean, I've got to say, I feel, I could be wrong, but I feel Ernie has spent a hell of a lot more time on the Civic Center this year than he has on the sewer department. And, the sewer department gives the town a hell of a lot of money for Ernie's salary.
It's not
So
just
I'm
salary,
just
it's a
saying,
whole
if it's an
spreadsheet.
enterprise,
I can't hear him. So.
No, I can't hear him either.
no. So I'm just saying, I mean, it's apples and apples.
I'm not sure what apples and apples are because you cut out completely.
I think,
They're
Jason,
both
I think
enterprise funds.
I think you're trying to
For
say
work,
is should
for
some
doing-
overhead be attributed to the Civic Center? I think that's your bottom line that you're asking.
It is. If it's
You lost all internet now.
Yeah. That's probably a discussion that should be had as we talk about the Civic Center as a whole going forward.
Yeah.
And I know what the point that Councilman Licciardi is making is that, there are back charges for many different departments that provide services to the sewer department. And I'm not sure how these formulas were developed or how recently they are, if they've been updated or not. But clearly it's something that, going forward, the town and sewer department can have discussions on these formulas and determine what is, reasonable and appropriate. And I don't know how long they've been in place, if they've changed, ever been changed. Kristen, do you know when the last time that the schedules were reviewed and
It's updated. Every time I make a change in the budget for
Right.
salaries, it's tied to the personnel supplement. And then there's some other categories that it's all formula driven.
well, percentage of time percentage of time allocated to the sewer department. There has to be a formula there.
Yeah, there's a formula.
But I mean, but again, I think the point is, I think going forward, this budget's, too late, but going forward, I think a discussion could be had is looking at the formulas, the percentage of time, and seeing if they are reasonable or maybe they're not reasonable. I don't know when they would have been formed. It could have been years and years ago, and they're just there. So with the councilman's point, I think it would be a good exercise to look at the allocation of time. How is it based on, and has that changed? And then have a more updated review of the formulas and the allocation so that there is a comfort level that it's appropriate. Right now, there seems to be not the comfort level that it's fair. So it's something that we need to take a look at, and we'd have time to look at that to see, if the cost the town is charging for sewer services is and that can be done. It started, when the budgets are adopted, and a good task for next year's budget preparations.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Ernie, the sewer department also has to report back to 4 or 5 other communities.
Yeah, well, yes, there is. The sewer use committee has a representative from each of the communities that the plants provide services to. But in fact, there's very limited amount of attendance from those other communities. One regularly, but they all have membership on the committee.
Any other comments? All right, I guess we'll be meeting tomorrow night. Is that correct?
Yes. 6
Yes,
o'clock.
it is.
All righty. So we'll meet again tomorrow night, 6 p.m. We'll go over the remaining departments. Just want to make sure that everybody has been notified about tomorrow night and they'll be here. I know, Kristen, thank you for getting in touch with everybody and making sure they were notified. Good job there. And we'll see everybody tomorrow night. I would need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Jay, work on
Thank
that
you.
audio.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Right.
Good night.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief.
Good night.
Good night.
Steve, can we work on getting me on tomorrow?
How do you know? I don't know how to end it. Oh, leave. Meeting.
Just close your window out.
I figured it out.
Chief, thank you again.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, John. Have a good night.
You're welcome, Dave. Have a good night.
Hey, Joe and Jeff?
Yep. Yeah, Mary,
Yep.
we'll work with you tomorrow. No, if you want, we can
Will
try.
I have,
Yep.
a test or something?
Yeah, we can do a test tomorrow during the day with you if you need to.
Yeah.
Well, I think now that you've sent it to my home computer, is that the same link that I'll use for tomorrow night as well?
Yes, it's going to be the same link.
Yep.
I wonder why it threw me out